Now, some people are angry at white people for what is being done, and I don't blame them. But I myself personally do not blame white people in general for gang stalking, or what we call now psychological warfare. Now, let me just play you this clip from Myron Mays, one of Myron Mays' videos.
And they employ various tactics to accomplish their goal of destroying targeted individuals. The most common experience that you'll hear is, and why the term gang stalking comes about, is because they'll have people follow you around. Whenever you go into public places, like if you're driving on the street, people in cars will follow you around, and they make themselves very known that they're there and they are present and they are looking at you. If you go any public place, like going shopping or anything like that, they'll follow you around the stores. And as sick as this may sound, I've even had stalkers follow me into church.
He's absolutely correct with that, and he was a victim of psychological warfare, and for that reason I don't blame him for whatever he does or whatever he did. If he raped, I mean, unless he molested a little child, if he raped a woman, I don't blame him. If he kills somebody, I don't blame him. Okay, because they sabotage your love life, they fuck with your head, and it can get you to do things that you wouldn't otherwise do. There's a difference between someone running a psych op on you and you raping a woman or killing somebody, and you being drunk because you got yourself drunk and you raping a woman and killing someone. Okay, if you got yourself drunk, then I blame you for it. If someone's running a psych op on you and you do that, I blame them for it. You know, because they're trying to control your mind. They're trying to get you to do something you otherwise wouldn't do. And it doesn't take a genius to figure out. This guy was a lawyer, very educated, just like myself, and he was more. He comes off as more mellow than I do. You understand me? So they know that this caused him to do the shooting. They know that what they did caused Aaron Alexis to flip out, and you know, they strongly suspect that it will cause me to flip out and commit acts of violence. And make no mistake that there are a bunch of pedophiles, rapists, racists, and so on in law enforcement that will use this to say, well, as you pointed out yourself, you know, people who believe this kind of way, you know, sometimes get violent, and you come off as more violent than them, and you know, they'll use that to try to, you know, use it against me. But I'm still going to stick up for him because it's the right thing to do. Now keep in mind, what he's describing is typical secret society action. Now, a lot of you are going to be stupid enough to say, oh, here we go, or, you know, this is all conspiracy. Well, what was the KKK? KKK was a textbook secret society. Symbols, secret membership, and all. A secret society is a known society most of the time. Its membership and activities are secret. You might generally know that they do rituals and this and that, but you don't know the details, what they're going to do, when they're going to do it, and for the most part, why they do it. That's where the secret comes in. You know, a lot of people mistake that as well. They'll say, well, if it's a secret society, how do you know about it? You know, look up the definition. You know, the definition is what I said on record, not what you think. Don't let your misconceptions allow this to continue, and don't let a bunch of evil people who feed into your misconceptions, you know, continue their crime. The police, let's look at the police on record. You know, the Rampart Division, the Code of Silence, on record, they have secret groups that abuse the law behind the scenes. You know, recently in Chicago, you know, all those people lying about what happened with that one black male, you know. So we know that secret societies exist. We know that people conspire in secret in law enforcement on record. We know that law enforcement time and time again, you know, brutalizes people and uses excessive violence and intimidation tactics. You know, they scare witnesses into testifying. They scare people into being informants and so on. We know they use psychology. We know they conspire behind the scenes. So when a black man says that this is going on, you know, for the liberals who like to make racial issues out of nothing, to pretend that a real racial issue is just a conspiracy theory, is disgusting. You people will use made-up race issues for political fame. But when real race issues come your way, you know, what will you do? And the reason why this is a race issue is because these are tactics that have been historically used against black people. For the same reason it would be a race issue if they hung him. Even if they hung 10 whites and 5 blacks. The fact that they hung 5 blacks would make it a race issue when you're talking about the black person, because that is historically something that is considered a hate crime against black people. KKK activities are hate crimes. So all the people involved should be charged with racketeering for the collusion with pharmaceutical companies, and extortion because they're extorting you for money. They're getting you to pay mental health bills that you shouldn't have to pay. They're forcing you to pay it. They're intimidating you, and some people in many cases till they flip out and pay bills that they wouldn't otherwise. So it's pretty much textbook extortion and exploitation. It's a racketeering. It's a criminal enterprise. They should be charged under the RICO Act because it's an organized crime. It's an criminal organization that is constantly, active. They should be charged under the RICO Act. It's a criminal conspiracy. There's hate crime elements of this. As soon as you're dealing with a minority or a protected group of people, as they say, right? You're dealing with a hate crime. Okay? When you intimidate a black person in the same way as the KKK does, it doesn't matter if you're black yourself. As soon as you're doing it with anybody who isn't black, it's a hate crime. Now, if you're black yourself, it's kind of a self-hate crime. I don't want to get into that. But even if there's 100 black people and 10 white people doing it, it's still a hate crime. Because what you're doing, it's just the same thing. If I'm not a terrorist and I blow up something, I'm like, well, I'm not in Al-Qaeda, but it's still a terrorist act. What they're doing is a hate crime no matter how you slice it. And the fact that there's a bunch of white racist cops and fucking eugenicists and mental health makes it a typical hate crime, historical fucking tactics being used here. It is absolutely appalling. They can cry about how this has nothing to do with race and has to do with upholding white social norms and the white establishment all they want. But it's a hate crime for the furtherance of white and Jewish power. Okay? And inordinate control by the Jews and furthering the old money and the white establishment, stranglehold over the economy and over social life in America. It's a hate crime. And then of course there's rape and so on. To me, I don't know why gang members would help them out when you see how they will throw the book at gang members. They'll say, we are hitting you motherfuckers with an injunction, and here's all the crimes that you committed that are going to be included in the paperwork. But they won't do the same thing with police. When's the last time they slapped a police department with a long list of crimes? They'll charge individual officers, but they won't slap the whole gang. Why didn't the LAPD get slapped with a fucking long list? We are charging you with a fucking injunction, under the RICO Act for organized crime. I mean, they're police officers and they're committing crimes in an organized manner. It's fucking organized crime. And of course, they're collaborating with people. They're stealing drugs and they're selling drugs to someone. So they're working with criminal elements. It is textbook organized crime. It just happens to be the police sector, the police component, the legitimate entities within the greater organized crime structure. Such as the cops on the take, piggies on the take for the mafia or something. I mean, this is organized crime, and it's a bunch of racist eugenicists doing it, and they're doing a lot of things the same way the KKK has. Follow you into church? I mean, I don't know about you, but somewhere I read that the KKK burns crosses and blows up and burns down churches. I don't know. Call it mainstream fucking history. Everything he described was textbook KKK activity. Textbook. By the book. For you to pretend that he must be fucking crazy. You know what? I want you to, if I get with a bunch of black people and I beat the shit out of everybody, I spray paint Crip on the fucking wall, I put an arrow pointing down in a gang neighborhood, I want you to completely ignore that. Because the Crips are a thing of the past. They don't exist anymore. Wait, they do. And so does corrupt cops, and so does KKK. Right. So when the people who historically use these tactics are using them again, now remember, the KKK included bus drivers, police officers, judges, coroners, crime scene investigation team, so on and so forth, lawyers, These are the groups of people who historically got together for psychological warfare against blacks. And when they really had to, they killed a black to contribute to the intimidation, to make an example for the psychological effect. I mean, this is historic. Yes, Myra May was innocent. Yes, the blood of the victims is mostly on the government's hands for allowing this to happen, and all of these secret groups within the government. Call them clandestine groups, surreptitious groups, call them covert groups, call them secret groups, call them whatever you want. They exist, and they're using racist tactics to do it. They're using plays out of the KKK's playbook to do it.